And welcome everybody to another episode of the Pulse of Fins Nation. I am your host, Louis Sung, and joining me is my co-host, Ron Caniff and Alfredo Artiaga, the 3 yards per carry. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about, everybody. The Tua coaster truly never stops. Even when the off season, the Tua coaster never stops. We're going to get into all the things because Ron really has been going off all week long about stuff going on with the Miami Dolphins quarterback situation, because it seems like the rumors just keep coming, man. It doesn't really matter what anybody says, doesn't matter what the team does, doesn't matter what's going on. It doesn't matter. I love the comment that he has here. He's the founder of Shooting Down Click Hunters, which I guess he's got a point that he wants to make, and we're going to let him make that point. But before we get into all of that, just going to go ahead and mention once again that our sponsor, as always, is PrizePicks.com. PrizePicks.com is the revolutionary fantasy platform where you can now pick up to 6 different players across professional sports leagues: the NFL, the NBA, the MLB, the NHL. One of each league, it's up to you to decide. They have boxing, they have all sorts of stuff that you can choose from. You can go in all in one league. You can pick one player from every single league you can imagine. You just choose the over or the under on those individual players' fantasy projections. You can go with the classic fantasy point projections. You can just choose individual stats. That's up to you to decide. They give you freebie picks that you can take advantage of, like for Luka Doncic, I think that's how you say his name, getting over just one game where he goes for 30 points. By the way, if you bet on him, he already made that number, so good on you for getting on that. And they'll give you also Taco Tuesday promos. Today they gave us 3 different tacos to take advantage of, so discounted picks for you to go with. Flex Friday is my favorite, where basically you can bet up to $20. They'll give it all back to you if you end up losing. So there's really no excuse for not signing up at this point if you want to get in on the fantasy football game, the fantasy basketball game, whatever you want to do. Just use the promo
code. Did you say that Luka Doncic is already at his number?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, one game. He only needed one game to go over 30 points. He did it. He's done.
Okay.
So yeah, for anybody who picked that freebie, congratulations, you're a winner. So go ahead and use the promo code 5. That's FIVE, and they will match up to $100 on your deposit when you sign up. Again, that's promo code 5 FIVE. You go and sign up for the first time. You deposit up to $100. They give you $100 extra to play with on their dime. So it's basically a free $100. Don't waste it. Go use it. PrizePicks.com. All right. So. At this point, I feel like I want to give a kind of a timeline a little bit, just to kind of break down what's going on here. So obviously there was initially a report that came out of the combine that the Dolphins were waiting to give Tua Tagovailoa his 5th-year option, and that was viewed as an indication that they're not confident in Tua, they're not committed to Tua, they don't think Tua's the guy, they must be looking at other options elsewhere. And then, of course, Chris Greer comes out and says that, yeah, his injuries are a concern, but I don't see it as a reason not to give him an extension. We really like the guy, but that wasn't good enough. That was not good enough. They wanted to keep it going. Then Mike McDaniel basically comes out and says, no, he's the guy. I don't know, stop talking about it. Nope. Not going to stop talking about it. Refuse to stop talking about it. So what are we talking about? Aaron Rodgers. Ooh, Aaron Rodgers is available. Let's go get Aaron Rodgers. He's better than Tua. And then, wait, what's this? Lamar Jackson is available. He doesn't want to be in Baltimore. Yeah. Let's go get Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is definitely the guy who's going to bring us to who's going to bring us to the promised land. And by the way, Cap for Life, we're driving by Clickbait Boulevard. Yeah, well, this is what they do. They make it so easy. So Lamar Jackson is being linked to them, and then we have Aaron Rodgers that was linked to them for a little while. So thankfully, that seems to have gone by the wayside. Thank the Lord above. But now we're back to, and this is where it gets crazy. What's his name? Dov Cliveman or something like that. And he comes out and says, hey, I'm hearing whispers. You know what? Tom Brady may not stay retired, guys. He may really want to go to Miami. I'm like, are we really doing this again? We're doing this again. Tom Brady, we can't get off of this. We really, really, really want Tom Brady in Miami, apparently. And then Tom, ironically enough, comes out and says, no, absolutely not. I have a kitten for my daughter that I have to take care of now, so that's just not going to happen. So everybody immediately backpedals like, okay, fine, Tom Brady's not coming to Miami. But wait, there's more. Wait, what? We just found out that Phillip Rivers wanted to come to Miami and play with the Miami Dolphins. Really? Phillip Rivers? How long has Phillip Rivers been retired now? At least 2 years. I think.
Well, that one makes more sense only because the timing of it was after Tua got hurt. Supposedly Rivers reached out.
But why did it come out after? Why did it come out after all that? Why was this not coming out during the season where Tua was actually hurt?
It's the only one I would buy out of all of this, honestly.
As a backup, sure. But as a backup, I would take Phillip Rivers. Sure, why not? But it's
remember that Phillip Rivers also came out and said, "I never did any of that crap."
Uh-huh.
Teams actually contacted me. I didn't contact any teams.
Right. So again, it's like, so here we go again. Josina Anderson, Dov Cleveman, and then the only guys who are saying like, no, this is all a bunch of baloney. Don't listen to it. Once again, our guys, Ian Rappaport and Jeff Darlington. And that's what it basically boils down to. It's like, it's ridiculous that we're being linked. I think the only quarterback we haven't been linked to at this point is like Brett Favre and Dan Marino coming out of retirement. I got one more left in me. Let me just loosen up the old arm for the next 3 weeks. I don't know, man. Ron, you've been the one who's actually been harping on this more. I got in my 6 minutes of ranting, and I'm going to give you your turn because you're the guy who was really getting frustrated as the reports kept coming.
Well, I think what frustrates me the most about this entire situation is, I mean, first of all, let's start with this. Every team evaluates every position every year. Stating that the team is evaluating the position it's not news. There's nothing specific about it. There's no reporting there. There's no sourcing there. It's just you saying the team's evaluating the position. Well, we know that they're evaluating the position. Every team does that. But here's my issue with it. About a year and a half ago, we saw Colin Cowherd figure out that you could really drive clicks and impressions big time, which leads to, more money by driving Dolphin fans nuts. So we started talking up, or talking down to and talking all this stuff. Then we saw Florio get in on it, obviously, and he realized Florio and Sims, they started doing, I think Sims might have been the first one, but I think he just didn't like Tua. I don't even know if it was for clicks, to be honest with him. I just think he just didn't like Tua. I mean, he said he was worse than, what was it, Jared Shittum, whatever that guy was that used to be for the Patriots.
Jared Shittum is a pretty good synonym for him. Jared Stidham. But no, he also said that
Geno Smith
Taysom Hill. That Taysom Hill was better than
Geno Smith.
So it was just,
of course, credit to Geno. He did a good season.
It was a lot of ridiculousness. And then all of a sudden, Tua has a good season, then he gets hurt. And then now you see there's always those voices on Twitter, those fans that they want Lamar, they want this guy, and they want that guy. It's whatever. You're never going to get 100%. I mean, I'm sure there's people. You could probably maybe find one or two people who think Patrick Mahomes is just in Kansas City. There's always somebody, right? That's not a big deal. But then here
there was some douchebag I was arguing with yesterday who said not only does Tua suck, but Josh Allen sucks too. So
yeah, it's like, come
there's
on,
all kinds of people out there. Okay,
but it was clear. I mean, it was clear to me that what Josina Anderson, I'm saying the names today.
I said
Josina Anderson was doing was hunting for impressions, hunting for clicks, hunting for views, because that's how you make money. If you look at her, and I tweeted this out, so if you want to go to my Twitter, I tweeted. It's not actually at Ron was right again, but if you go to my Twitter,
misinformation.
Yeah, you'll see that all her tweets of the last few days were like 25,000, 30,000. Hell, my tweet. Retweeting her tweet about it got more impressions than most of her tweets do. Then there was one about Lamar, the hedge tweet, for like 215,000 impressions. And then there was the Tua one that got over 1 million impressions. So, and we all know where this is going. We all know what they're doing. And anybody that's pretending that this is real information. And I find it so interesting that the timing of her interview and the timing of her tweet was after all the coach and GM interviews were done at the combine, so that nobody would be able to go if you said it right before, 5 minutes later, you go to McDaniel, oh, you guys are going for Lamar? No. You know what I mean? Then it's shut down. So you got to make sure that after it's done. And of course, the Lamar tweet there, that's the hedge tweet for when Lamar doesn't go to Miami, or I don't know if he even stays in Baltimore, but when he doesn't go to Miami, that way you can say, oh yeah, blah, 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 just like she did with Fangio. And it's just, it's just tiring, man. It's so tiring. And then you got these clowns on Twitter that are trying to promote their terrible YouTube shows and their crappy free Discords with like 20 people in them. And they're trying to get Josina to retweet her by kissing her ass. And it's ridiculous. It's enough of this shit. I'm tired of it. McDaniel said they're committed to Tua. No one has picked up anyone's fifth-year option yet, people. That's contractual stuff. He comes out about it, right? He said, I'd be surprised. I'd be surprised if anybody but Tua is the starter. Then what? Straight out and said, no one else is gonna just like he just came out. He left the room,
and then Ron had really bad internet.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
come on. Did I? Yeah, did I?
I don't know. Yeah.
Well, I know that Ron's upset. I'm ushering in the new era of really toxic Twitter, but in reverse. Like we're gonna be awful to the Tua haters and all the clickbaiters. You know, I think we've turned the tide on that. I don't know if you've been on Twitter lately, but it's an absolute cesspool and it's beautiful. Like it's the first time in a long time that I look at my fellow fan, at my fan base, and I say, you know what, these people are scum, but I kind of like the way that they're acting lately. So yeah, absolutely. And people have to understand how most of this happens. If you notice, nothing that is second sourced, okay? And I'll explain how some of this works, especially here in the United States. If you work for a newspaper, you usually have to get two sources to clear anything, okay? And I mean any piece of information. You usually need two sources. It's usually what's required. Now, people like Ian Rappaport, Adam Schefter, Jeff Darlington, like the big guys, the guys that are really well connected.
They are their own source, basically.
Yeah, they could go directly to a source and they could say, look, a source, and they're going to clear it with their editor, and they're going to say, look, you kind of know who my source is. I'm not going to tell you who it is, but you kind of know me. They built up the credibility to basically just run with something, right? Well, Josina Anderson is the type of person that has built up enough credibility on her own, because I don't know if she got fired or not from ESPN, but she went on her own, and then she started building up like a pretty good Rolodex, okay, of people that know her. And now she does these hits on CBS Sports. And to do those hits on CBS Sports, you have to have something newsworthy, okay? So now that she's her own boss, essentially, she can clear her own stories. So if she could get one league source, somebody that's somehow connected, to say anything that is vague that she could put on the record, she's going to take the chance. And she's going to take the chance because it's something that's going to help her. It's going to help her get a hit on CBS Sports. It's going to get drive impressions on her Twitter account. So that's what happened here. Well, if you notice her report really didn't say anything new. It just said the Dolphins were going to explore all options. That can mean that they're going to explore all options for the backup quarterback. That's it. And as it turns out, that's exactly what they're going to do. And by the way, I'm actually told, and this is information, yeah, they're going to turn over every single rock possible for the backup quarterback. Now, does that mean Andy Dalton? Does that mean Taylor Heinicke? Yeah, that's probably what it means. It does not mean they're going to go trade a pile of picks for Lamar Jackson. But that's Twitter.
Yeah, they're not looking for a new starter. Everybody knows they need a backup quarterback. Absolutely. And we actually dove into that a little bit last week with the whole the Ryan Tannehill discussion, which, by the way, I'm still not a fan of. I don't want Ryan Tannehill back in Miami for any reason. I love Tannehill as a person. He's a great guy. He's not the quarterback that fits this offense, not even a little bit. So, by the way, for anybody who's wondering what's going on with Ron, Scuba saying Cap for Life just stole Ron. Ron had to step away for a moment, so he will be brought back very shortly. Some of the other comments that are coming in on here, Aaron Anders, I don't get why Mac Jones get more passes than Tua, as in he gets more excuses than Tua, because he's a New England Patriot, and they are one of the storied franchises of the NFL in everybody's eyes. So Mac Jones gets a lot of
Well, they're one of the most storied franchises of the last 20 years. But if you compare that franchise to the Miami Dolphins,
well, yeah, The Miami's history is obviously better, and obviously still they can't beat the 1972 team, which everybody wishes we would stop talking about, but we never will because we're still the only ones who have done it. So we'll stop talking about it when somebody manages to accomplish beating it. So that's what we're gonna say. True Blazer saying that Sim's just keeping it real. We're all Dolph fans are just in their feelings. No, because here's Scuba again saying Zach Wilson is better than Trevor Lawrence, says Chris Sims. I'm like, it's Phil Sims, right?
Sims keeps it really, really, really dumb, is what he does.
He's real dumb.
And if you really want to see some really stupid stuff, wait till he starts bringing out his rankings for the draft again, because he decided for whatever reason a year ago, oh, I'm going to get into this draft stuff. Go back and look at his rankings for his running backs, his wide receivers, his tight ends, his quarterbacks. He came off like a complete clown show. None of those guys came out anywhere near. He had, I'll tell you exactly who he had as the number one running back. Okay? Because I know that he got cut in preseason.
What is it? For Miami?
No, he had it. No, he ranked Javian Hawkins is who he had as his number one running back. Okay. Javian Hawkins is now a football running back for the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Isn't that CFL team?
Yes. Okay. And he was a UDFA, by the way, 2021. That was the first year he did his rankings for running backs. That's who he had as the number one running back. A guy who was a UDFA who is now in the CFL today.
And who else was in that draft? 2021?
Well, we could do. Let me see.
Now I'm curious because who did he have listed higher? I really want to know. Okay, so let's see. So the first running back taken in that draft was Najee Harris, who someone we know is will live and die by.
Yeah, Travis Etienne, who's a star.
Travis Etienne was right after that.
Who's a star, by the way.
Javonte Williams, who we wanted.
Who's a really, really nice player. No, but this guy had Javian Hawkins ahead of him.
Yeah, and honestly, the list keeps going. Even Trey Sermon, like, not that he does much, but still. Michael Carter, he's pretty good for the Jets, right?
Yeah, he's a nice player.
Ramondre Stevenson, he's all right.
Yeah, he's a nice player. He's a really nice player. There's a couple like
Chuba Hubbard.
Chuba Hubbard's a really nice player.
Gainwell came on for the Eagles late down the stretch.
Well, Gainwell's a really nice player. So look at all the names that we've named. Okay, he had Javian Hawkins ahead of all of them. Like, you don't do that unless you're just trolling, unless you don't know what the hell you're talking about. And forget about his wide receiver rankings. He had Jamar Chase like fourth. Like, stop it. Just stop it. Okay, you're not a serious draft guy. You're not paying attention. You're not watching these games. If those are the rankings you're going to come up with, that's who Chris Sims is. Chris Sims is a personality. He's a TV personality.
I mean, you could argue that we are also TV personalities, Al, but we at least try to be credible and at least somewhat objective about what the things we say, and at least try to make sense.
You at least want to do a little bit of research and know who you're talking about. You know what I mean?
So, and speaking of which, like here, there's more names coming up here. So, here's Pat White. Yeah, let's bring back Pat White. Why the heck not? Sure, why not? We've had every other quarterback linked to us. We might as well bring back Pat White. He would be perfect for the offense, I'm sure. It is really tiring, and I think that's what.
And of course, he had Zach Wilson. He had Zach Wilson over Trevor Lawrence.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And Sim still believes in Zach Wilson. Apparently, like, he's still a Zach Wilson truther. So really, so does that mean that he's not in favor of getting Aaron Rodgers because Zach Wilson is just that special? Oh no, absolutely not. I guarantee you that Sims is chomping at the bit for Aaron Rodgers to show up. I know that Breece Hall is chomping at the bit to get Aaron Rodgers in New York. That's to tell you what they think about their boy, Zach Wilson. So, sorry. Cap for Life says Mike White. I'm about to say, okay. So you're talking about the Dolphins backup position. Okay. Got it. I'm about to say, yeah, sure. Pat White. Why the hell not? All right. Bringing Ron back into the show. So, Ron, just briefly, because I know your internet was kind of crashing on you a little bit there, and it actually might still be kind of, but we're gonna give it a shot anyway. Yeah, he's still cutting in and out a little bit here. Like, what's going on, man? Do you need to use your mobile hotspot or something? Would that fix everything?
I'm actually connected to the Ethernet. It's just for some reason inconsistent, and I don't know why.
Is maybe something's going down that nobody wants you to know about. But just basically summarize everything that happened during your little just a brief summary of everything you said, because a lot of it got cut off.
No, just my whole point was, of course, it got cut off. Thanks, internet. Was just it's clear the click hunting that's going on. I think I heard bits and pieces of what Alf was saying in regards to Josina, and she's kind of her own deal now, so she doesn't really have to be like a normal journalist. Got two sources, go through an editor, go through a chief editor, make sure it's good, all that sort of stuff. She can kind of just say, I kind of heard this and run with it now. Colin Cowherd, he's his own thing. Florio, they're their own thing, really. So anybody who's their own thing are the ones that just likes to run with stuff. And other people actually have to have real sources and real information. What we were getting is not real information. I mean, at least with Watson, it became to a point where it was real information. There was actual, like, we had real information inside OnlyFans too. I only said OnlyFans. Inside OnlyFans too from the 3YPC guys.
$3 a month.
Yeah, we $3 a month. We had real information, like conversational information, real specific stuff. So you started to get a clue of what was happening, that not that it was going to happen or not happen, but that it was definitely a thing, right? This is just a joke. And I just get tired of these trolls that try and latch on to it in the Dolphins community. You guys have ruined Twitter. Thank goodness for 3 yards per carries, OnlyFans and the patron chat in there, because that's really where Dolphins fans are going to talk more and more now. I mean, a lot of us are just off Twitter because it's just a joke now. And I think I heard something about Alf say that they were just all kind of freaking out, and it's a shit show there now because of probably Darlington's tweet, which I love. I cheer Darlington for coming out and he left no room in that tweet. I mean, zero. I mean, that was confidence right there. He wasn't like Ian trying to be nice about it, but he left no room. It's like, come on, man. You guys and you're trying to promote your crappy stuff. Let's just.
But make no mistake where that came from. That came from the Dolphins. They're not messing around this.
They went to him. Usually they go to Barry. Now maybe there was a Barry tweet and I missed it. Usually they'll go right to Barry and say, "Hey Barry, can you please tell them to knock this crap off?" But for whatever reason, they went to Darlington this time, which, I mean, he's always been very connected with the Dolphins as well. So it's not like it's weird, but it was good to see. Yeah, that was pretty clear, right? If Jeff
let's be clear about
someone told him that.
Yeah, let's be clear about something here, because a lot of people are saying, it's just that, they're just, it's just entertainment, blah, blah, blah. If you watch what Colin Cowherd was saying the other day, I posted it on OnlyFans, I posted it on Twitter as well. That seemed almost personal. Who the hell goes on TV and starts advocating that somebody should not get paid? And he was essentially saying, no, just freeze Tua out of the league. Like, who the hell does that? Like, what is that? But that's what they're doing now. So this is the Dolphins getting out in front of it, because as I was trying to explain on Twitter, and some people were like, no, but why not just do it now? And I'm like, well, because maybe they could get a really favorable extension with Tua Tagovailoa before May 1st. That's why everybody always waits till the last second. You want to get as much information as possible before you exercise the 5th-year option. And trust me when I tell you, they're probably looking at some of these deals and saying, man, if we could fit right in there somewhere, these are good deals. Like, look, if Daniel Jones was actually the type of quarterback that they think he is, if he was Geno Smith and he signed that contract, I would have said, man, that's a pretty good deal. For a middling quarterback, like the 14th or 15th best quarterback in the NFL, like, that's a pretty good deal, because the charge is only $19 million the first year. It's actually less than the 5th-year option. Although the real money, if he earns it all, it's 160. These are good deals. You don't think the Dolphins are looking at these deals and saying, maybe we could work something out with Tua, and we don't exercise the 5th-year option?
Yeah,
or we exercise the 5th-year option and then tack on an extension? That's probably what the Dolphins are trying to do. And
yeah, they'd like to. I mean, they'd like to do that. I mean, I saw, honestly, to get off the Tua thing, it's not just only the Dolphins and Tua that some do this with. It's just the most. I've seen some of it with Philadelphia and Jalen Hurts as well. I saw the same type of article. Oh, they haven't picked up his 5th-year option, blah, 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 blah. I mean, like, the dude just went to the Super Bowl. They had one of the best teams in the NFL, and he was part of the reason why, because when he wasn't playing, they couldn't win. So it's like he should have been the MVP. So it's the same game. They just do it more with Tua and the Dolphins because it generates more traffic with the Dolphins than it does with any other team. It's just a game. It's a scam. It's ridiculous.
Well, the same thing that you did, Ron, with the Josina tweets. Do you remember when I forgot who it was that had all the
cowherd,
the cowherd clips, and it had the counter in the bottom? Cowherd had done
YouTube stuff, and
Cowherd had done like a cowboy segment. The cowboy segment had like 20-something thousand views. He did a LeBron segment and it had like 15,000 views. He did some other segment and it had like 30,000 views. He did a 201 and had 1.7 million. Like, now, what do you need to, what more do you need to know?
And that's actually because of that, the reason I decided. I saw this thing has 1 million. It's not even a day yet. I said, I wonder what her other tweets, what kind of impressions they got. I'm like, man, some of these impressions are less than a few of mine, sadly. I actually one time really pissed off Bills fans and got one that has, I'll retweet it sometime, maybe I shouldn't, 340,000 impressions. Hey, you really want to drive impressions? You think pissing off Dolphins fans is one way? Piss off Bills fans. These guys would get 20 million views. It just go say something bad. Like Colin Cowherd should just go say, I don't like Josh Allen. I think he sucks. We'll never talk about Tua again.
It used to be what I used to do with the Patriots, with the Patriot fans. But now I try it, and Patriot fans just don't show up because they don't care about their team anymore.
They're gone. They're not excited. They had 20 years of bliss. They're done.
Yeah,
they're done for a little while. They don't like Mac Jones. They think he sucks.
Maybe the Patriots should be in on Lamar Jackson. Why aren't we talking about that? Why aren't we talking about the Patriots should be in on Aaron Rodgers? The Patriots should be in on these guys.
That I had made is that, I mean, if it's all about information, then where's the tweet about Atlanta? And I guess that just got shut down too. But where's the Atlanta stuff in Lamar? Where's the Jet stuff in Lamar? I mean, that doesn't drive traffic. That's why you're only tweeting this to drive traffic. That's the only reason. There's no real information there. When we start seeing some specific actionable stuff like we did with Deshaun, that's when we know stuff's getting real. Until then, it's just conjecture. Really, retweeting Josina Anderson at this point is no different than retweeting NFL rumors account. It's just no different, man. It's the same thing. Yeah. It's ridiculous, and I just don't understand why people still buy into this stuff anymore.
Can I clear one misconception out there, because I see it. Cat for Life is talking about it, and it's been all over on Twitter. You can't do anything with Mike Gesicki. He is no longer under your control. He's a free agent on March 15th. There's nothing you can do. All you can do is just wave to him goodbye. That's it. The last thing you could have done with Mike Gesicki was at the 4:00 deadline today, which was franchise tag him. That's the only thing you could have done. And they weren't going to commit $10 million because you know why? Nobody in the NFL is going to pay him $10 million a year. That's why. So,
well, what about the other stuff, since we already have it up here? Because let's talk about it, because obviously they're still looking at the potential of getting Jalen Ramsey. They would love star power there. Bobby Wagner still has something to offer, I think.
Why not get them all? Let's just get Jalen Ramsey, Bobby Wagner, Derrick Henry. In fact, let's go get Saquon Barkley too. And
they tagged him today, I think.
Too bad. I wanted to get both running backs.
Yeah, he got the same tag, the exclusive. As they call that, the exclusive tag, right?
Oh, they tagged Saquon.
Yeah.
Saquon, Tony Pollard, Lamar. I don't remember the other names. There was only
Tony Pollard got.
Yeah, I was disappointed on that. I was kind of hoping, because they have Zeke too, they might.
If you were on OnlyFans a month ago, you would have learned that they were going to tag Pollard and let Dalton Schultz go.
Yeah, I was just hoping you were wrong because I like Pollard. Not that I didn't believe you.
Yeah, but he
got tagged too. Yes, correct, Walt. Josh
Yeah,
Jacobs was
I don't
another one that got
expect
tagged.
monster splashes like that. Like I don't see them like going out there. I think they'll make one major acquisition and maybe two that are impactful. But look for value. I really do believe Jordan Poyer is probably the best value they can get for the money on defense.
And another thing that's funny too is some of the same voices that are over here saying Miami can't make any big splashes so they don't have any money are over here saying, oh, all the Lamar stuff is true.
Yeah, right.
Even though they don't have any first round picks to trade for them, and they don't even have enough money to go get like a good tight end or running back, according to these people. But yeah, now we're going to sign Lamar for $250 million guaranteed.
We you know how it is. You know the salary cap's not real, not even a little bit, because the Saints just signed Derek Carr to $1 billion. You know, so
yeah, you're about to see on a lot of teams, including Miami, you're about to see just a barrage of guys let go and of contracts restructured, and you're going to see that throughout the NFL, especially the Saints. The Dolphins are going to have to. I mean, the Byron Jones just gets them to even. They couldn't. They got so many people to re-sign. They have some acquisitions they want. They have to leave space for their – it's a small draft class. They don't have a first-round pick, so they don't have to leave a ton of space, but they got to leave space for it. There's going to be a lot of action going on over the next week with contracts and some cuts. Yeah. In my opinion, Alf, I don't know about you, what you think about it, but in my opinion, there will be.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a flurry of restructures and extensions. Like the one that I keep saying, man, makes a lot of sense is Connor Williams. Like you could get some of that money off of this year, extend him because that's a guy that you want to lock down.
Alf, but just out of curiosity, because I remember I had actually brought up Connor Williams sometime during mid-season that I said I wanted to go ahead and just extend him. And I think you were actually the one who told me don't touch him yet.
Oh, I don't know. Remember.
It was a while ago. It was a while, but you had told me. I don't remember the reason why. I think it was because I guess it was just kind of like write out the contract and then find somebody later. But again, I think now you're right again because like Connor Williams, he's played so well. He's done everything we've asked him to do. I don't see a reason why not to keep him around long term. I mean, unless you want to convince Mike Pouncey to make this 1-day contract a 1-year contract, bring him back. By the way, anybody who didn't know, Mike Pouncey is going to sign a 1-day contract and retire as a Miami Dolphin. So
we don't have the money.
We have
to use it for Lamar.
We don't have the money for Mike Pouncey.
We don't have the money.
Yeah, but for the people that are saying that the cap ain't real and everything, I had a brilliant tweet the other day because that's what I do on Twitter, and I said, look, for those of you who don't get it, this is a visual aid for you. If you can find that tweet?
Let me try to find it for you.
Okay, because it's self-explanatory. I try to explain to people what the cap is and what the cap does in the NFL. Because all of these cap ain't real people it's just hilarious to me. You know,
yeah, it's real.
Math is math.
Just easily, I would say easily. It's real. There are just so many options to manipulate to get where you need to be, but eventually make enough bad decisions and it catches up with
people.
It's that people.
Yeah, that's perfect right there. It's that people think, okay, it's not real because I can live today, right? But then 2 years from now, when your team is absolute garbage, you're going to look back and you're going to say, oh, that's what the cap was about. Look at that tweet right there. A visual aid for the cap ain't real crowd. You know who those 4 guys are? That's C.J. Gardner-Johnson. He's the best.
Who they did not tag.
He's the best slot player in the NFL, the number 1 guy. This is Trey Hendrickson. He's a top 5 defensive end player. Okay? That's Teron Armstead. We all know who he is. He's a top 5 left tackle. Okay. And the last one is Marcus Williams, who's probably a top 5 free safety. That is 4 top 5 guys at their position. And I would say that the one on the top left, the C.J. Gardner-Johnson, is the best at his position. Those are 4 guys that the Saints have lost in the last 2 years. Can you imagine if something like that happened to the Miami Dolphins?
That would be like you sign Lamar Jackson to your contract and you have to wave farewell to Teron Armstead. You have to then say goodbye to Tyreek Hill. You don't get to re-sign Jalen Waddle. You don't get to keep Xavier Howard. you don't get to keep Javon Holland when his time comes.
That right there that you're looking at right
him.
there is the equivalent of us losing in order Javon Holland, Jalen Phillips, who else? Teron Armstead, who's right there.
Teron Armstead.
Yeah, and Christian Wilkins. Can you imagine that? They would ride Chris Greer out of town on a rail if that happened here. But there it is, right there. That's,
I mean, they've been wanting to run Chris Greer out of town for the last 4 years, regardless of what he's done. So that won't change anything.
Sean Payton, to get on the same thing, Sean Payton made some terrible decisions with contracts, cap-wise, etc. there towards the end. And then when he realized he had destroyed the team financially, he just walked away. Took a year off. And now he's headed to another team. So, I mean, he just did. As simple as that. I can see teams doing it, though, Alf. And you could see Miami saying, okay, we got a year or two window. And, man, we gotta make it work for the next few years. And it might be ugly come 2025 or 6. I could see that, maybe. What would you think, Alfred? Do you think they always have a plan 4, 5, 6 years out, or do you think they're kind of playing for the next 2 years, maybe?
Yeah, most teams do their I talked about this a while back on the podcast. Most teams do like their little 4-year windows, and Miami is currently on one of those 4-year windows, and it just opened up this past year. And how you know that you're in one of these little 4-year windows is when you have a situation like you have this year, where you go into the offseason over the cap. And that means that you exhausted all your money that you were going to allocate on all your different positions this past year. So now all you're doing is augmenting. So now you're drafting and augmenting. Like, there's not much more that you can add to this team as far as high price talent. And I know I said Jordan Poyer earlier. That's not high price talent. High price talent will be CJ Gardner-Johnson. Like, that's a guy. Like CJ Gardner-Johnson.
Walt Dog 1, 2, 3, 4. He's
well, he's gonna get double Jordan Poyer. Okay, is he twice as good as Jordan Poyer? I don't think so.
Nah,
he's a really good player, but sometimes you have to make a decision. CJ Gardner-Johnson for $16 million a year, or Jordan Poyer for $8 million.
Not even. I bet you he takes less to come to Miami, considering how much he seems to love it. The idea.
I think he'll have a taker somewhere else, so maybe we're bidding against one more team.
Wait, is Drew Rosenhaus his agent?
Yes, he is.
Yes,
he's coming to Miami.
It's kind of fair. Is Drew Rosenhaus the Dolphins' assistant GM?
Drew Rosenhaus is the Dolphins' broker. That's what he is.
Well, let's face it. Let's face it. This is not. I'm not coming down the mountain with the tablets here. Okay, I'm not breaking any news. Drew Rosenhaus is a Dolphin fan.
Yeah, we know that.
So like if all things are equal, if all things are equal, okay, like he's not going to screw over a client, okay, because he's a Dolphin fan. But if all things are equal, you don't think that he's going to put his finger on the scale and say, hey, over here.
Like Sunny Beaches. He got a good great coach there now. You also Sunny Beaches and
Lewis and
the women and the women they're in.
And the women on them. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, Drew Rosenhaus. He really has been a benefit to Miami. I'm sure that'll be the next scandal.
We have a guy here, Kat, who says, "Hi, do you think Harry Balzac should be brought in at corner?"
I was really hoping we could ignore that one.
No, but we could sign Mike Hunt at safety.
Nice.
Okay. Well, now that we've got that out of the way,
I'm all for childish 8th grade humor. I'm all about it. I have no problem.
All right. So there's a lot of talk right now in the comments talking about how we're gonna make more money. Walt Dog mentioning Robert Hunt, Connor Williams, Christian Wilkins getting extensions. Christian Wilkins is a given. That's definitely not just gonna happen no matter what. Tyreek, Bradley Chubb, Jerome Baker, and Armstead getting restructured. Tyreek, I could see to give him a signing bonus.
I really wonder if they don't restructure Baker, he could be gone. I'm serious on that. It's possible. It would be
It's a brand new defense, Ron. And
It's
if
one of
anybody
the best savings too, financially. It's one of the best savings versus, hard or what should say, hard money hit or dead money, right? It's one of the best savings versus dead money, I think, on our roster right now. Current.
Hang on, let me pull it up.
If you look at it, I was looking at it like a week ago, so I don't recall the exact numbers, but I recall looking at that saying that one's interesting to me. If they don't restructure, I could definitely see maybe Baker being gone. And I don't know what his fit's going to be in the defense. And Fangio himself already said he's not going to watch a bunch of film as a current Dolphins player. He's going to let them show up to OTAs and see what they got. So he's not going to run over to Greer and say, no, you can't cut this guy. If he's not there come OTAs, then he's just not there. That's Greer's decision. It seems like,
one thing that's always taught me, like if you ever trade stocks, one thing you do is that you listen to a lot of the reports in the morning, depending on on which sector they're talking about on CNBC, and then you hear the Fed, and then you listen for buzzwords. If you noticed when Fangio spoke to the media, he only mentioned two players, if you remember. Do you remember the two players he mentioned? It was Holland and Phillips.
Yeah, I knew Phillips, so I couldn't remember the other.
I mean, those guys are like the cornerstone future of our defense. Those are the guys that we're going to be needing for the long term. I am not letting Jalen Phillips walk unless he ends up like crippling himself somehow. He's basically becoming what we had hoped all those years ago that Deion Jordan was going to be. He's going to be the next Jason Taylor if he's not already.
Miami, Walt Dog has a couple of really good ideas, and we've spoken about this a lot on the podcast and on the show, and on this show actually. Emmanuel Ogbah, Cedric Wilson, those are trade candidates. The thing is, you got to find a trade partner, And Cedric Wilson, I like him as a player, but is he worth the savings in a trade? Absolutely. Not cutting him? No, I wouldn't cut him. Like
that's what I'm gonna pull up now.
Like I'm not eating any part of that salary to cut Cedric Wilson.
Here's Cedric Wilson right here. If you cut him now, you actually don't really save anything. We really don't.
I wouldn't do that. Like what's the use for that?
The best thing that you could do is like even post June 1st, you still end up losing out on him. The only thing that makes any sort of sense for Cedric Wilson is you have to trade him. You have to trade him. But I really don't think if we really wanted to trade him, I don't think it would be that difficult because, yes, Cedric Wilson does have the ability. He's basically Albert Wilson before he ended up getting hurt. He could be a really good player somewhere, but I just don't think it's going to be in Miami because there's no space. There's no space for him here. And I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about what is his role? He doesn't have one. They relegated him to the punt returner because they didn't have anywhere else to put him. You have Tyreek Hill. You have Jalen Waddle. You already have two number one guys.
And hopefully you're going to be re-signing Trent Sherfield.
Trent Sherfield, obviously, you need him. River Craycraft, if they decide to bring him back, he already knows how to ball, and he basically does what Sherfield does, just at a lesser degree. So, again, what is Cedric Wilson's role in this offense? He doesn't have one. He really doesn't. So, send him back to Dallas. I'm sure they'd love to bring him back. I'd love to say, hey, here's Cedric Wilson and gave him a team-friendly deal-ish. You can go ahead and we'll do what Chris Greer do this? So let's say we'll pay you some of his salary if you just give us something nice in return. So let's just do that. Let's we'll take an extra $1 million. We'll pay $1 million more of his salary, and you just give us let's say a fourth rounder for your guy back. I think they would do that.
If even, I mean, it's about getting rid of the money. So I don't know if the compensation would be high. It's just about clearing some cap space.
And even then, that's perfectly fine. Chris Greer knows how to find some acorns. We already know that this is true. So he can pull that off. And if nothing else, we can always just trade into the next year, right? That's what we do a lot. We can just trade into the next year, trade my fifth rounder this year for a fourth rounder next year or something along those lines. If you really, really want a guy, somebody will take it somewhere. So it's not that difficult. Emmanuel Ogbah, if you trade him, $11 million in savings. Even more so if you end up trading him after June 1st, you can get $15 million in savings trading Emmanuel Ogbah after June. So that's an incredible amount of cash that you'd be saving on Emmanuel Ogbah. And again, the question becomes, what exactly is his role in Miami? Because you have Jalen Phillips, who is coming into his own. You gave a ton of money to Bradley Chubb. You're still obviously going to be extending Christian Wilkins. You still have Zach Sealer, who, by the way, Drew Rosenhaus is his agent now, correct?
Yes.
So Zach Sealer, absolutely, I'm not letting him go because he is a beast. Like I brought up this comparison before, and I'm going to do it again because I really think it fits so well. They are the modern day Daryl Gardner and Tim Bowens. Those two guys, they are monsters in the middle. And
they were a huge reason why all of a sudden, when you just put those guys together, they were a huge reason why all of a sudden our run defense went from pretty mid to one of the better run defenses, not against quarterbacks, as we said, but against conventional runs. They were one of the best in the NFL. They were just really stout.
Yeah,
really stout.
We are on the with Vic, and now with Vic Fangio as a defensive coordinator, we are on the cusp of bringing back the legends of like the defense of old, right? Back in the days when we had Sam Madison and Patrick Surtain, and then you had Brock Marion back there, and you had Terrell Buckley back there, back when he was pretty darn good. You had we don't have a guy like Zach Thomas yet, but I think we could eventually find something.
No, we don't.
No, we don't have a Zach Thomas. We don't. But
and I know what you just said earlier, but we still got a little ways to go before we start calling Phillips the Jason Taylor, man.
Bro, no, look, listen. Even Jason Taylor had to start somewhere, okay? Like,
yeah, I know.
Even in his first few years, his first few years in the league, Jason Taylor was really good. What has Jalen Phillips been? He's been really good. And I see zero reason not to project him to continue to improve as time goes on. I really don't. When a guy balls like the way he has been, it's not just because he has help. Obviously, everybody needs help. Even Jason Taylor was not so good that he could manhandle an entire offensive line by himself. He needed guys next to him. Trace Armstrong was there. Adewale Agunleye was there. Obviously, Bowens and Gardner were there for a little while, making things easier for him. So we love Jason Taylor, and I think Jason Taylor deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, but it's not like he had trash next to him. He had guys there. There were guys next to him to help him ball. So that's what Jalen Phillips is, taking advantage of what's given to him, and he's absolutely taking advantage of it. Can we, if you don't want to say Jason Taylor, can we at least say he's the next Cameron Wake? Can we do that?
Yeah, maybe we could. I'm partial to
Damn, Ron. Damn, you don't want to give this kid any credit.
No, I love Phillips. And when Chubb showed up, Phillips pressures and his numbers really started to increase. You could see that having another guy that people were focused on, even though Chubb didn't really get the numbers, you could see it made a difference for Phillips. And I can see him having a great season, man. I'm just not trying to get too crazy now.
He's gonna be really good.
He's already really good. He's probably gonna be really, really good. And I think that defensive line can be.
I think Jalen Phillips has Defensive Player of the Year type of chops.
Yeah,
like he could win a depoy in his career.
Yeah, I could see that.
He won't because he's with the Dolphins, but he could do it.
That's not true. Miami has had several defensive players. I know Doug Betters won one, and I know Jason Taylor won one. I don't know if they won anymore, but
right. So in all the years that Miami had an elite defense, there's only two that you can remember.
Yeah, but a lot of times those awards go to the same player or a few. It's tough to win a Defensive Player of the Year when you've had years of Aaron Donald.
Listen, the year
you got Sosa right now.
Who was the guy that won? Who was the guy that won over Xavier Howard? Was it Stephon Gilmore? Was it that guy?
I believe it was.
It's like, screw off. Like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah, it probably should have been X. But I have a question before we get to we got 10, 11 minutes left. We said last week that one thing we were going to focus on coming into free agency was, probably the room that needs the biggest overhaul is the tight end room. And I wanted to ask Al. Look at that. I wanted to ask Al. Good thinking, Walt. What do you think, man? If it was any place where we really need a player for McDaniel's offense, it's tight end.
I signed Dalton Schultz and call it a day. Thank you.
I agree, but I don't know. Let's see.
Listen, I know
Dalton Schultz is going to be expensive.
But if you're going to make one splash, that's where I'm splashing.
Well, how expensive are we talking, Alf? Like $15 a year expensive?
Something near that. That's a lot of money. For that, you could get Foster Moreau and Jordan Poyer.
Is Foster Moreau not going to get re-signed?
Will Foster Moreau sign? Will the Raiders let him go?
Well, they got Darren Waller already, and Darren Waller plays in line pretty much. They're going to want to keep him, but not at the number that we can throw at him. So we could outbid the Raiders.
Well, I mean, it depends. I mean, right now the Raiders are kind of in a weird situation because they're coming up the free agency, but it's hard to spend when you don't know what your quarterback situation is.
The Raiders want to sign Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, well, they want to sign a quarterback, but they don't know who that quarterback is and exactly what that money is going to be.
Well, but the Raiders have a plan.
They got to figure that out.
But the Raiders have a plan, and we kind of know how they want to execute that plan, and their plan is pretty simple. They already decided that Josh Jacobs, that's what the team's going to be centered around, is their running game, okay? They had a very good running game last year. It was mostly out of 12 personnel, and that's what they want to do. Remember who the coach there is. The coach there is Josh McDaniels. That's a guy that coached Rob Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez, okay? He's always had two good tight ends. Darren Waller, Foster Moreau kind of looks like that for him. Okay, so he might want to spend a little bit so we get out there and we try to outbid him and talk to Foster Moreau and tell him, look, here, you're going to be a more featured guy. Over there, you're second fiddle to Darren Waller.
Yeah.
You know? So maybe over there they give you $5 million a year. Maybe over here we give you $7 million a year. You know? And it is Miami. And I know Miami and Las Vegas very similar as far as lifestyle.
What if we sign Schultz and Moreau?
Well, yeah, that's the whole.
I don't think our offense really. I don't think that makes sense for what we do on offense to sign two tight ends like that and then sit there in 11 personnel all day throwing the ball to Waddle and Hill. That doesn't make sense in my mind.
Well, a lot of people are trying to. There were some. I think it was actually Walt that was making the case that maybe we should dump Durham Smythe, but I don't think that makes a whole lot of sense for Miami right now.
He can kind of block sometimes, and
he can kind of block sometimes.
And he used to. Hey, that's more than I can say for Gesicki. And he used to be able to catch passes and run a little. I don't know what happened there. It feels like
they don't use him.
They don't use him, or he's just not that guy. I mean,
look, just for the sake of argument, if you cut Durham Smythe, you save $3.4 million, and you only get like less than $1 million in dead cap. So theoretically, you could, but for that cheap of labor, why would you?
I mean, they might. It depends. I guess it depends on what they want to do with that position. That's one I'm not really sure on. I feel like they definitely need to get a guy in the draft. I mean, it just takes too long for tight ends to develop. That's not the answer for 23. So I feel like if there's any position they would do something, it's that. But I will still maintain that they're going to make a bit of a splash at running back too. I still think that's going to happen, or I should say running back also. And simply, I will reiterate from last week what I said. McDaniel is well aware and has said out loud in public about the third and short issues and how we are dead bottom last in the NFL. And I don't think that got fixed with an offensive line coaching change. I don't think in his mind he's going to think that. He'll want to bring back Mostert or want to bring back Wilson, but I think they want another guy, in my opinion. But we'll see.
If they want another guy, I don't think it's going to be like a big guy. I really don't, because
I think a tight end that can block helps fix it.
I think this is a year where it happens in the draft. And I tell you why. Look who the head coach is, okay? Most of the reason why Greer ignored running backs in the draft while Brian Flores was here is because Brian Flores didn't want a running back in the draft. If you notice, a lot of those pet picks were guys that he was asking for in the second and third round. Now, I think this time around with this coach, you could see them in the third round take a running back who will be the project in that group. I really do believe, look, if Dalvin Cook shakes loose, that could be a guy that they'd be in on. The problem is that it looks like Minnesota is not going to let him go. They're not going to try to cut him. They're not going to try to trade him. He's staying with the Vikings. So I don't think there's going to be a splash to be made out there at running back. So I could see a scenario where they just bring back everybody. They bring back Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson, Savon Ahmed, and then they draft the guy. And then whoever they draft is the guy that's going to replace one of them the following year. And that's as simple as that.
Understood.
That's what San Francisco did for many, many years, and it looks like that's what they're going to do here again.
I mean, no doubt that as I said that last week, this week I come in and Josh Jacobs got tagged, Barkley got tagged, Pollard got tagged. So the barrage of running backs I thought that were going to be out there available became much less. I just feel like he's not going to be satisfied just bringing back Mostert and Wilson and just running it back there. So if there's nobody to sign, then you're right. Draft higher than the 7th round for once.
Mm-hmm. And it's a deep class. So you can get a nice running back in the 3rd round.
It's a great tight end class too. I mean, I know that doesn't help us for 23 very much, but it's probably the deepest tight end class in the draft that we've seen in years. Would you agree, Alf?
Yeah, it's a very, very good class. Very, very deep class. Like you get a good player very late. And
it's deep in some positions that we need, which is helpful for us. But now another thought, just a question. We invested so much on offense last year in free agency. And with, we got a center, we got a tackle, we got Hill, we signed running backs. So, do you think then we're going to then go and take our 2nd and one of our 3rds and then draft offense again as well? Or do you think that maybe we'll get fooled and they'll focus more on defense? What are your thoughts there? Just to have that balance. I'm really not sure because the players that we need are the good players that are going to be there in the 2nd, 3rd round, but they're offensive players. We've just already spent so much money, but it's still an investment of assets, whether it's picks or money. I was just kind of wondering your thoughts there.
Yeah, it's also a really, really good linebacker class. So I would expect them to be in on that. And I know everybody's thinking, oh my God, how many guys are you going to take? Well, they got 3 top 100 picks. Those are your guys right there. You're talking about a linebacker. You're talking about a running back or a tight end. And then I do believe that they'll take a defensive back inside of one of those three top 100 picks. There'll be a defensive back in there because this class is so good that at least that's the way I look at the draft. I would want to leave the draft with at least one of them, especially one that may drop. You never know.
Should be interesting. Day 3 of Gibbs or Zach. Yeah, man. No more day 3 running backs, man. Tired of day 3 running backs. No offense there, Walt, but I'm over us drafting day 3.
Yeah, Gibbs and Charbonnet will not make it to day 3. They'll be there firmly in day 2, early in the 2nd round. If not, Gibbs I think could be a late 1st rounder. So
that's a pipe.
And let me tell you one thing. Every year I do this thing where I make a list of players where I'm afraid if they go to Buffalo or whoever our main rival is. It used to be New England. Now it's Buffalo. Jamir Gibbs is one guy that I'm afraid if he goes to Buffalo. Don't let that guy go to Buffalo.
You know, it's weird. I don't know why I'm just going to say it. I don't know. This is going to be frowned upon. You might have seen in OnlyFans and a little bit on Twitter. The team that makes me nervous that more good players going to, especially in the draft, is
don't say it.
Man, I don't want to see the Jets drafting any more good players, man.
Listen, the only thing you have to
some hell of a good draft.
The only reason, Ron,
I hope they miss out on a quarterback.
The only reason you would even have to be remotely worried about the Jets is if they get Aaron Rodgers, and even then, no, they're not getting Lamar Jackson.
How do you know?
They're not getting Lamar Jackson.
I mean, they don't have a lot of cap space either. I think they're actually in the same cap situation we are, which I'm trying to figure out why. Because they don't have any Tyreek Hills or, any of those types of guys. I'm trying to figure out how in the heck that happened. But
even if they get Aaron Rodgers, they're getting Aaron Rodgers in his twilight years. He's a grouchy old man, and he's like,
I don't think Aaron Rodgers
he's going to get to
right now.
He is going to get to New York, and he is going to.
Rodgers is not going to go play in New York and deal with that New York media.
That's exactly what I was about to say.
No,
that's exactly what I'm about to say. He's going to hate it there if he goes to New York.
He wants to go someplace to enjoy himself. He also doesn't want to go in a competitive division like that because if he's going anywhere, he wants to go someplace he wants to compete. And he doesn't want to deal with. He wants to
compete,
media.
But he doesn't want to compete.
Yeah, but look, he doesn't want to deal with the New York media. There's no way. I mean, Vegas makes the most sense to me.
Yeah, the Jets have had some nice drafts, but this past year when they took Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, and Jermaine Johnson, they had the offensive and the defensive rookie of the year. First of all, that's complete nonsense. Okay, that's just New York winning awards because they get votes. Okay, Garrett Wilson was not the offensive player of the year.
He was really good though, Alf. I mean, you have to
He was
admit,
good, but he wasn't. But
well,
who was
let's think
Jermaine
about it.
Johnson?
He was good, and he had no quarterbacks to help that. Nothing.
But who was Jermaine Johnson? Jermaine Johnson was absolutely awful this past year. So let me ask this: who had a better draft? Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, Jermaine Johnson, or Jalen Waddle, Jalen Phillips, and Javon Holland?
Yeah, that's a better draft. I'm biased, though. I'm biased. Maybe we need somebody who's not a Jets or a Dolphins fan.
I mean, some people will argue that Sauce Gardner being a lockdown cornerback is more value than Javon Holland, who is a safety. Some people will say that Garrett Wilson is up there with Jalen Waddle. So it depends on who you ask at that point.
It makes me nervous for the Jets to get a good quarterback. It does. I'm not going to lie. It makes me nervous. And Saleh, I think, is a good coach. I think he's a good coach, man. So that makes me nervous. I'm hoping they end up with Jimmy G gets hurt. Hey, then we'll have 2 chances to knock him out of the game, not just one.
I'm not worried about Aaron Rodgers going there. It would be so out of character.
No.
It would be so out of character and so out of place and so weird for him to go to New York.
Yeah, because if it doesn't go well, especially right off the bat, it'll never go well.
Yeah, it'll just spiral.
It'll spiral. It'll spiral out of control. Everybody will lose their job and they'll blow it up.
Yes.
Yep. Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, Al, sorry. Just before we get ready to start closing up, I just found out apparently the Buccaneers are cutting veteran left tackle Donovan Smith. Is there interest for Miami?
He's a good player. That's a guy that you kick the tires on. You try to figure things out with. One thing I am noticing is the trade market for tackles is very, very thin. So it's either going to be free agency or the draft if you want to upgrade the right tackle position on Miami. But and I know everybody hears this and they're like, "Are you insane?" No, I'm not insane. Another trade candidate is Austin Jackson. Okay. He was still a first-round pick. No matter how you slice it, he was a first-round pick, which means there's GMs somewhere out there, okay, that have their own evaluation on Austin Jackson. And and if you make them available and they'll say, look, fine, I'll throw you a 4th or 5th-round pick. What did Alex Leatherwood get in trade this past year?
He got cut.
Did he get cut?
He got cut, dude. They ate like 15 mil of dead money and just cut his ass. He ended up getting picked up. I don't know.
Well, now you know why Mike Mayock got fired, because that's just awful.
Got straight up cut. I couldn't believe it. I said, "There's no way it'll happen."
But that's probably an Alex Leatherwood. That's probably an Alex Leatherwood problem.
It had to have been. It was so weird. He was only with the team like what?
Because usually what happens is this: when you draft the 1st-round pick, you got to eat it. You got to eat it until the year that it's time.
We're still eating Iggy, dude. We're still eating Iggy. I can't believe.
Oh, speaking of guys who were 1st-round draft picks, Noah Igbenogany, is somebody going to trade for him too?
No.
Now
I got to be honest with you, Alf. I think that if a GM trades for Austin Jackson, that guy must be like
anybody who trades for Austin Jackson deserves to be fired.
Yeah, they're a raging alcoholic on a binger, man. That would be a terrible trade. I mean, I understand that people had their own evaluation from him when he was in college, but we now have 3 seasons of him in the NFL? I mean, that's the evaluation now. The college evaluation.
You technically have 2 seasons. You have 2 seasons. He played 2 games this past year?
And he was bad in both.
No, he was not bad in the first. He was good in the first.
I mean, what's your baseline?
Well, he didn't play. My baseline is that he didn't play this past season. It's as simple as that. So there's gonna be somebody who's gonna look at him and say, "Oh, he's been there for 2 years. I have my own evaluation. I'll throw a pick."
No, this is wrong.
Oh, Walt,
this is wrong.
Tua, buddy.
Tua was in the
really. Come on, man.
Come on.
Yeah, if I told you that you drafted a quarterback and 3 years later he led the league in 6 different categories, including passer rating and yards per attempt,
they're still talking about
with a 3-to-1 TD to interception ratio, everybody would say, "My God, you knocked that pick out of the park."
That's right.
Yeah, but it's Tua. So
Unless it's
we're
Tua.
talking about Lamar
Yeah,
Jackson.
unless it's Tua, then it doesn't count because
There's something
Right.
about I don't know what it is about Tua. I don't know what it is about the Tua Tagovailoa roller coaster, but it just doesn't matter how good he is, how amazing he plays. They just don't want him, man. They don't want him to be good. I don't know.
It's
So
fine.
anyway, so before we call it a night here, I just wanted to go ahead and mention, I said I was going to announce it this week. And so I mentioned there was something new coming to the 5 Reasons Sports Network. And I'm going to go ahead and make an announcement here. I'm going to be bringing in a new show that is going to be happening. It is Finn's Nation with Louis D. Sung. Basically, it's just an offshoot of Pulse. And thank my fiance for the awesome graphic. Alv, you gave a kind of a baseline that we kind of messed with it a little bit, came up with this. I hope you still like it. So I really think that basically it's going to, you hate it now? Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I hate it. That's fine.
well,
I
I'm not
basically,
gonna- I'm
I
not gonna tell
basically
my fiance
designed the
that.
thing, you know. I do like what your girlfriend did with the dolphin. That's pretty cool. That looks nice.
It's
Yeah.
fiance, Alf. Fiance. You're gonna make her mad.
Oh,
No, I'm engaged.
can I make a suggestion?
What?
You know how this thing could really pop? Put a helmet on that dolphin.
Put a helmet on it?
Yes.
Yeah, like the
I
old
like.
logo.
I like. Yeah. You know what? Put a helmet on the dolphin and put. You see,
dolphin.
you get and put the 5 Reasons logo on the helmet.
Ooh.
There you go.
Did I nail it or did I nail it?
Yeah,
You see?
I like it. Little update to the graphic.
But yeah, so
we're doing it real time.
So the show is going to be basically that I'm going to be doing a daily 15-minute show every day. It's going to be audio only, but it's going to be 15 minutes per day. And I'm just going to give you guys all the Dolphins content that you guys could ever hope for. So 15 minutes every day, going to throw some stuff at you. So be ready for that. It's probably going to be debuting either sometime next week or the week after. Just got to get everything set up as far as the production stuff goes, because I got to produce my own stuff now. So
You got to do it, and you got to do a Tua segment every single day.
I'm going to have to
Yeah.
do it. I mean, if I want the clicks and I want the views, I'm going to have to do a Tua
like
segment
2 minutes.
every
You got to
single
give an update. You got to say like, okay, today
Today
he's playing golf at the Bridges in Plantation today.
And then, so you have to start with what Tua's doing and what quarterback will be replacing him.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
And you have to have a different one every single day, or it's just not legit.
So today, Tua was linked to Joe Montana, who's thinking about going one more go round after his Hall of Fame career is over. But since Mike McDaniel's just such an offensive genius, he thinks he can still get the job done. There we go. Boom. All right. So thank you everybody for joining us. It has been an awesome show. We had some internet snafus on my end too, I think a little bit, but either way, it was awesome to have you guys here. And before I forget, make sure that you head over to prizepicks.com to go ahead and take advantage of whatever promos that they have going on. It feels like Prize Picks has something going on every single day. All you have to use is the promo code 5. That's FIVE, and they will match up to $100 on your deposit when you initially sign up. I went ahead and did some of the Taco Tuesday promos. I haven't won a lot recently, which is why I'm not betting for my father, in case he's asking and wondering why I'm not betting for him. But because I keep losing. But I'm confident that this week will change, and I will let you guys know, because listen, with prizepicks.com, they come up with a whole bunch of different ways to help you become a winner. So go ahead, use the promo code 5, that's FIVE, and they will match up to $100 on your deposit when you first sign up. And I hear a lot of guys like Walton. I guess there's a lot of guys arguing in the chat now. See Herbert Whitney.
Yeah, they're doing the Herbert Tua thing again.
Yeah, it's
you know what I want to know? What I want to know is this: why aren't the Bengals or Chargers
doing the 5th-year option?
They must not be. They must not have faith. They're going for Lamar. It's just
They're all going for Lamar Jackson.
I've heard they're
know.
evaluating that position.
I don't know. The Bengals might be out on Burrow already.
I see Scuba giving them hell in there. Tell him, Scuba.
Sit down.
Tell him, Scuba.
Effort reflects leadership. I don't know what that's in context to. Is somebody just being I don't know. But either way, somebody had mentioned like there was a tweet out there that basically had a whole long list of teams that were not in on Lamar Jackson. The Dolphins were one. The Falcons, I think, were another. Who else was it? The Panthers are not interested.
The Commanders
are not interested. So
nobody's interested.
Nobody's
Lamar's
interested.
not playing next year.
So and a lot of people are getting very upset about this. Like they're getting actively offended. I know that there's at least one guy.
Look, I want to say this because everybody's out there like, oh, the owners are colluding. Look, These are billionaire NFL owners, okay? To get all of these guys on the same page to do one thing at the same time is nearly impossible. It's like herding cats. There's no way they're colluding because they're not that smart. Okay? They can't control themselves enough to or coordinate enough to all stay on one same page for too long. So they're not colluding. It's just the market speaking. And it is what it is.
And for Baltimore did not become, and I said this a long time ago, Baltimore is not one of the best franchises of the last 20 years, one of the most competitive, one of the best run by doing the same kind of crap the Browns did. That is not how they got where they are by being the freaking Browns.
Now they may have to get rid of Nick Chubb because they have to afford Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, man. So I agree with the way Baltimore is playing it from the financial side. I don't way.
There goes Ron's internet again.
I just felt like they should help. Should let Lamar not have to take so many hits. That guy's just taking hit after hit. I mean, it's really not done him any service. But
that was the argument
I like the way they're playing it.
That was the argument I got into with my coworker today. Was that the reason Lamar Jackson is getting injured so much is because he has to be a one-man army all the time in order for the Ravens.
True. It's just I just don't know that it's necessary. I don't know. I think Harbaugh needs to do better there. If he stays, if Lamar stays a Raven.
I think he will ultimately. I think he'll stick around, even if only because he's on the tag and no team's going to give the Ravens 2 first-round draft picks to get on.
I think now. See, I disagree there. I think a team would fork up 2 firsts for Lamar. I just don't think
team?
They're going to also pay him $250 million.
Right, but that's what he wants, though. So he doesn't care. So again, we literally just came down with a list of quarterback needy teams. Not the Dolphins don't count, by the way, but a bunch of teams that need quarterbacks, and they're all saying, nah.
Well, here's the thing, though, that this is the way it works, and we learned this from the inside information we have with Deshaun. First, the 2 teams agree on compensation, and only then can you pick up the phone and call an agent, or in this case, a player, because Lamar, I don't think he has an agent, correct? So only
Well, Drew Rosenhaus did say that Lamar Jackson does have a team of representatives. He doesn't have an agent. But he's not I think there's a misconception out there that Lamar is walking around, with a pen and pad, with a pen and paper trying to work out his contract. Now he has he has a lawyer, he has people that know the CBA, so
he just doesn't want to kick out 10% of his salary is all. But
so he's trying to
his values there, and he doesn't need to. He has a lot of confidence in himself, and that's okay.
There's this tweet of Peter Schrager saying, among the names on the Jets cross-country trip to visit Aaron Rodgers is owner Woody Johnson, head coach Robert Saleh, GM Joe Douglas, and the OC Nathaniel Hackett, right? And somebody on OnlyFans quote tweets the tweet and says, "Is this the baldest plane ride ever?" And it is true. What a great observation. 4 cue ball guys on a plane to go visit Aaron Rodgers in California.
That's funny. But the big thing is now you don't really have to agree. Before is you got to agree on the compensation with the team before you can pick up the phone. Now you don't. Now you know what the compensation is. It's 2 firsts. So now if a team,
hey, by the way, your favorite insider, your favorite insider's on the warpath, Ron.
Who is this? Oh, Josina?
Yeah, she says the unprecedented rush for several teams to public. So now all these teams are, they got to be. Oh my God, they got to be questioned. Their motives are questioned.
She got made to look like a fool, and I'm gonna say it. Sorry, anyone who agreed with her got made to look like a fool. And Alf,
before the racism,
you know that there's somebody close to us that includes. I'm sorry, but it does. But we won't say the name because I like him a lot. I'm not going to be mean. But sorry, she got made to look like a fool because she was out click hunting. It's period in the story.
It's not going to be long, guys, before the racism tweets happen. It really isn't.
Well, I'm not going there.
No, but we know it's true, though.
It has nothing to do with that, in my opinion.
I don't think it does. I don't think it should.
I think it should be pointed out that Lamar Jackson turned down a $250 million deal that 133 of it was fully guaranteed.
Yeah,
does that put him on par with Patrick Mahomes?
You're not Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah,
He thinks
dude,
he
no.
is.
Like nobody's Patrick Mahomes. Come on, man.
Okay,
He thinks he is.
It's as simple as that. And when Tua's up and Tua starts asking for these ridiculous numbers too, which
Yeah,
might
he'll get
happen,
laughed at by the Dolphins as well.
The Dolphins will laugh at him too, and they'll say, "You're not Patrick Mahomes. And
You're not
probably
Patrick
not
Mahomes.
Josh
Sorry,
Allen."
brother. We like you, but you're not Patrick Mahomes.
You're not that good, bro. Like we
Yeah.
like you, but you're not Dan Marino when you're
Yeah.
reincarnated. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
The best we could do is make you really rich in Miami. Do you want to do that?
Yeah.
You know?
See, that's the thing. I've been noticing this, and maybe this is something we can talk about in the next show and more in depth. But it feels like now quarterback salaries are becoming so inflated that once you pay your guy, you can't afford to put anything around him anymore. It's like you're basically banking on the idea that this guy is so unbeatable that it doesn't matter what else is around him.
Well,
And you
look
can
what
make
the Chiefs. Look what's going to happen to the Chiefs starting right now. Okay, we already saw them lose Tyrann Mathieu. Okay, but they made some smart acquisitions in the draft. They traded Tyreek Hill, and that bought them some time, especially on offense. And then they did some good work with the draft. They got Isaiah Pacheco, and I really do like Sky Moore. Okay, like I think he's going to be a really nice player for the Chiefs going forward. So they kind of drafted good. But you know who they're losing right now? Frank Clark.
Yeah.
So it's happening already in Kansas City.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean-
You know that meme where they have, I think it's Ron, is it Ron Paul? That's who it is, where he's like freaking out and he's saying it's happening. Like an alien.
No, that's Steve Carell from The Office. It's happening.
Yeah, okay. I was about to say it's like
Okay, imagine me running around saying it's happening with the Chiefs because it's already started with the Chiefs.
But here's the thing: when you have one of the best quarterbacks already to ever play the game,
it takes a lot
it
longer.
can happen, and you'll manage through it.
It takes a lot longer to get flushed down the toilet when you have a great quarterback.
And you have Andy Reid on top.
The Saints went 0 to the crapper in record time, and that was because Drew Brees retired.
Yep.
You know,
Exactly.
and then they lost all their good players.
Yeah. And they decided that Taysom Hill was worth $25 million a year, whatever they paid him. It was some ridiculous contract.
Yeah.
all right. We got to call it a show, guys.
Let's call it, man.
Keep an eye out for Finn's Nation coming out very soon. I'm gonna have 15-minute shots for you guys to listen to on your drive to work or whatever.
You're the next Kyle Krabs, my brother. The next Travis Wingfield. Daily podcast. Good luck.
Thank you, everybody, for
There's
joining
virtually
us.
no chance in hell he'll be the next Travis Wingfield, if you catch my drift.
I don't know how I should take any of these comments, so I'm just gonna leave it here. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We will see you all next week.